welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking the incredibly high-stakes, shifting power dynamics across the global sports landscape right now in August 2026. Across multiple sports and continents, we're seeing teams and front offices making absolutely massive gambles to secure their futures. We're talking desperate playoff pushes, $100 million transfer swings, and do-or-die continental football. Let's get right into it. We're making 3 distinct stops today. First, we'll hit the WNBA playoff push. Then we'll cross over to Europe for some UEFA Champions League qualifying drama. And finally, we'll grade the summer's blockbuster global football transfers. Act 1, the WNBA playoff push. Let's establish the mid-season stakes on the hardwood. Heading into Week 10, the race for the championship is seriously heating up. The macro context of the league right now is completely fractured into 4 distinct tiers. Up top in Tier 1, the Minnesota Lynx are absolutely in the driver's seat. They boast a 25-6 record, they hold a 4-game lead, and they just picked up their 10th straight win. But right below them, it is wild. Tier 2 is a massive, tight, 7-team logjam separated by just 3.5 games, from the Aces down to the Liberty, all fighting tooth and nail for a top 4 seed and home court advantage. Below that, Tier 3 has 5 teams desperately fighting to avoid the lottery, while the Sun and Storm are just really struggling down in Tier 4 with single-digit wins. Now, within that messy middle tier, you cannot ignore A'ja Wilson's sheer dominance for the Las Vegas Aces. 10, that's the number of times she's dropped 30-plus points this season. To put that into perspective for you, that is literally double any other player's total in the entire league this year. She is single-handedly trying to drag the defending champs out of that tightly packed middle tier. Speaking of that middle pack, the trade deadline just passed, bringing up a massive lingering question for Phoenix. The Mercury made the biggest splash of the deadline by bringing in all-star guard Kelsey Plum from the Los Angeles Sparks. The catch? She's been out since late June with ankle and lower leg injuries. Phoenix is sitting at 11-19 right now, 6 games back of a playoff spot. So the real question is, can this massive acquisition ignite a late postseason push? And honestly, how soon can she even get on the court? It is a massive mid-season gamble. Moving on to Act 2, Champions League Survival. Let's jump over to Europe, where we're seeing the immediate do-or-die tension of the UEFA Champions League third qualifying round. Just listen to the absolute chaos from these first-leg results. We've got Croatian powerhouse Dinamo Zagreb putting on an absolute clinic, blowing out Lithuania's Kauno Žalgiris 5-0. Over in Belgium, a pulsating comeback, a 3-3 draw between Union Saint-Gilloise and Norwegian champions Bodo Glimt, where Bodo snatched a dramatic 91st-minute equalizer. And maybe the wildest one of all, Czech champion Sparta Praha upsetting French giants Lyon 2-1, flipping the game on its head with 2 goals in just 6 minutes. But I want to highlight Levski Sofia for a second because they just put on a tactical masterclass in their 1-0 victory over Kazakhstan's Kairat Almaty. I mean, you do not see stats like this every day in high-stakes qualifiers. Levski completely dictated the pace, holding on to 71% possession and entirely neutralizing their opponent's attack. They allowed 0 shots. Literally none. It might only be a 1-goal advantage heading into the away leg, but tactically, absolutely flawless. Because look, this stage of the tournament is pure desperation. And that's perfectly captured by these dramatic stoppage time winners. You've got Slovan Bratislava fighting back from a penalty deficit to score a 94th-minute winner away in Sweden. And Levski Sofia, despite all that dominance we just talked about, they still needed a 90th-minute long-range strike from Serginho to finally break the deadlock. These late heroics are exactly what give these clubs a priceless advantage, showing you exactly what is on the line right now. And finally, Act 3, grading the 2026 Blockbuster transfers. First up, Bruno Guimaraes to Arsenal, a £75 million move from Newcastle. So zooming out to the global football market, we're going to look at Goal's objective grades for this window's biggest moves. And they went harsh on Newcastle, handing them an F for this transfer. Why? Because they completely failed to replace their best player, seemingly expecting an 18-year-old to just step in and fill his shoes, which, let's be real, could be a total disaster for incoming manager Matthias Gisel. On the flip side, they awarded Arsenal an A, and Guimaraes himself gets an A+ for making the jump to a title-contending squad right in the prime of his career at 28. As Goal's commentary points out, Guimaraes is expected to slot right in alongside Martin Odegaard as a number 8. He brings technical brilliance, defensive aggression, and just a relentless work rate. Honestly, this is the exact dynamism Mikel Arteta needs to finally conquer the Premier League and make a real push in the Champions League. It's just a tailor-made fit. Next up, Jan Diomende to Real Madrid, an absolutely staggering €140 million transfer from RB Leipzig. For this massive investment, Goal graded it a B- for Leipzig. And sure, they made a wild €120 million profit in just a single year, but losing his progressive passing is really going to sting and be super tough to replace. Real Madrid gets a B because, well, frankly, they arguably overpaid. But for the 19-year-old player, another A+ for landing at the Bernabeu. This move caps off a truly meteoric rise for the teenager. I mean, think about this for a second. Just a year ago, he was playing for Leganes, a relegated side. Now, he's arriving at the biggest club in the world to fill the wide cover void left by Rodrigo's ACL injury, which is keeping him out until 2027. With his electrifying dribbling, Goal notes he is ideally suited to Jose Mourinho's preferred 4-2-3-1 system. From the Spanish reserves to Mourinho's Madrid in basically 12 months, just unbelievable. Let's look at the opposite end of the spectrum now. Mohamed Salah to Trabzonspor on a free transfer from Liverpool. So here we have a 34-year-old legend moving on, and Liverpool gets a D for how this was handled. According to the source, they broke their own rule by offering a multi-year extension to a player over 30, only to watch his form plummet to just 12 goals last season, while reportedly ruining dressing room harmony. Trabzonspor, though, earns an A for a historic coup that instantly raises their global profile. But for Salah himself, a D grade, marking a pretty massive drop in his competitive level.
And Goal's commentary shows exactly why they view this as a sad decline. They note that the Egyptians' poor attitude, lack of defensive work, and very public clashes with manager Arne Slot basically forced his exit with a whimper, with his contract ultimately being terminated by mutual consent. It's just a stark, crazy reminder of how quickly power and status can completely evaporate in global sports.
So as these power dynamics completely shift across the sports globe this August, from A'ja Wilson willing her team through the WNBA standings to those desperate stoppage time Champions League qualifiers and nine-figure transfers over in Madrid, we want to leave you to ponder this. Which of these high-stakes gambles will ultimately rewrite the history books? Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer, and we'll see you next time as we continue to track the ever-changing world of sports.